Welcome once again back to the lab. It is your old Professor Pilk, and of course we need to talk about the incoming Salamence raid that'll actually be here on Thursday evening. So with a Flying Terror, you're really talking rock, electric, and ice as your main move. So you really kind of want to work around that whole move set. Now, the really nice part is with Salamence having the flying ability and or flying abilities, dragon abilities, and a few other things in his repertoire, you do have a lot of options here, but also you do have a lot of potential weaknesses, which we'll talk about how to mitigate. The other factor here, and the biggest factor I would argue, might be his abilities. So let's talk about that real quick. So if you kind of look down here, he's got the option to have Intimidate or Moxie. Now, we already dealt with a Pokemon with Moxie, so that could be a problem. Remember, Moxie will actually increase his attack stat every time he feints a Pokemon. And being that we always try to do this solo, essentially remember that any time one of our teammates feints, that is going to be an increase in his attack stat. So if he has Moxie in play, you're always going to be dealing with him at top attack unless you skill swap him or you see him or something of that nature. So there are options on the table there. Intimidate's not that big of a deal. Intimidate will just cut our attack stat in half. And that basically means at that point we just use special attacks instead of physical attacks. Intimidate is easy. Now, I did say in the past that these Pokemon usually use their hidden ability. So when it comes to like Tyranitar and things like that, they actually didn't. Like, it's a rare situation, but Tyranitar didn't actually use his hidden ability. But I think for a raid situation, it was actually better that he used the ability that he had. So the question is, will Salamence go back to using the hidden ability? And will this be like this big cumbersome thing that we have to overcome? Like, every raid has that big gimmick, and I think Salamence is like offensively strong enough. I don't know if they need it, but they could just be brutal and make us deal with that. So these are the two big situations you have to deal with here. Are we going to be dealing with Intimidate and using special attacks, or are we going to be dealing with Moxie and have to skill swap them to get rid of that? Hard call. We just don't know, and we won't know until Thursday, unfortunately, unless the data miners come through with that information. But I haven't seen that information quite yet. So here's how I'm going to approach this. I'm going to basically kind of build a Pokemon that can deal with these two situations independently. But that is kind of the big caveat here. But let's talk about his stats. Let me break in here for just a moment. Now, yes, this is an ad spot, but it's the best kind of ad spot because it's the kind of ad spot where you get free stuff. So for those of you that don't know, this channel is sponsored. And one of the things I've been looking for a really long time is a sponsor with coffee because I am a huge, huge coffee drinker. Love Deadpool. Big Deadpool fan too. And that's why I'm proud to partner with Root Brands, specifically Romrose. But they're not the only ones right now. I also use their Zero In product from time to time. This is essentially everything that's in an energy drink without all of like the sugar and stuff, but in capsule form, which sounds a bit weird, but trust me, I've been using this for a little over 6 months. I love it. And we are running a campaign right now to give away a bag of the Romrose coffee and a box of the Zero In by Root. All you have to do is be a subscriber to this channel, follow the Gleam campaign. There's a few other ways to enter as well, including follow our other channel, Gaming Across America. And that's it. You're entered to win free coffee and a free supplement. Easy peasy. Let's get back to the video. And I won't sugarcoat it. These stats are a little scary. Now, HP is only 95, so he's not got the most health, but that physical attack being 135, especially for dealing with Moxie, is very scary. Defense is only 80, special defense is only 80, but those are still really good stats. He's not going to be easy to fell, but I think with the right build, you'll be able to handle this. But attacks 135 and special attacks also 110, which means we could deal with some special attacks. That is on the table here. Biggest problem, I think, is that speed 100. He's going to be outspeeding you a lot. And especially with Dragon Dance in his repertoire, that is a potential move he could have out there. I think we're going to have to be comfortable with the idea that we're striking second. It sucks, but I think that is just the reality we're dealing with. He's going to be faster, and he is likely going to be very strong, if not completely stronger than us. So those are the big issues that we're dealing with here. So now let's talk about his offensive structure because, ignore all this stuff up here. We already know defensively he is a pure flying mon for all intents and purposes. So none of that matters. What we need to know is what moves is he going to bring to the table that we need to mitigate. And as I said before, he is a dragon flying Pokemon, so most likely he's going to have Dragon Claw. Fly is his evolution move, but we haven't seen these Pokemon use 2-turn moves. So unless he's got like a something to mitigate that 2-turn ability. I highly doubt he's going to have fly. We have seen them deviate from the evolution abilities a few times, so I don't think that's a huge deal. But Crunch is a little scary, and Zen Headbutt is also out there as well. And all three of those are distinct possibilities. Crunch will actually lower your defensive stat, potentially, maybe. It's like, I think it's like a 20% chance or something of that nature to lower that defensive stat. And if he's got Moxie, he won't need to, but honestly, it's just another thing that can take you out. Crunch is a little scary. Crunch is a possibility, but it is not the end of the world. Now, Dragon Claw bad. It's a dragon move. It is going to have stab. It's going to hit really hard, and it is not going to be fun to deal with. But I'm trying to figure out what flying move he's going to have in his repertoire. And at first, like, whenever we see flying, I always go to acrobatics, because acrobatics is scary. With no held item, that doubles in power. But I don't think he actually has that in his repertoire. So let's go down to the TMs here. So I feel pretty confident in saying that Dragon Claw is going to be the dragon move. He also, like I said before, does have access to Dragon Dance. So with Dragon Dance in play, that could increase his speed stat. That might be a problem. I want to know what flying move he's going to have in his build here. So you got Aerial Ace, Air Slash. Air Slash is possible. Tailwind's not a damaging move. Hurricane's distinctly possible. And that could be the one special move that you're going to kind of deal with here. And then, of course, Dual Wing Beat, which is an attack that hits twice, essentially. We haven't seen too many of those, but they are out there from time to time. It's only 90% accurate. I am willing to bet with a special attack stat, he may very well have Hurricane. That could be the one. It's either going to be Dual Wing Beat or Hurricane. I don't see anything else here that could potentially be an issue, and there's nothing in his egg moves that are going to be too scary. So either Dual Wing Beat or Hurricane. I think Dragon Claw is a no-brainer for the dragon attack. We have two more attacks. I feel pretty confident in saying Dragon Dance, very, very likely to be one of the moves that is going to be his like back slot move. But what else are we looking at here? He does have access to some rock moves. He does have access to Zen Headbutt. He does have access. Actually, he's got Iron Defense, which actually could be a little scary too. Just increasing his defense periodically would be bad. Not world ending, but it would be bad. He does have Heat Wave and Flamethrower, both his potential fire moves, which does kind of mitigate that possibility of using ice Pokemon against him. So, oh man, and he's got access to Earthquake. There's so many Pokemon that have access to Earthquake, but I always say Earthquake is very, very scary. He's a Power 1 HUD move with 100% accuracy. He's not going to have stab on it, but it still is going to hurt really, really bad. So I'm always going to default to Earthquake because Earthquake terrifies me. So Earthquake, Dragon Claw, either Dual Wing Beat or Hurricane. It's hard to tell. And honestly, Earthquake kind of does shore up the ability or the possibility of using both electric types and rock types. So I think Earthquake really makes a ton of sense in this build. That leaves really only ice types on the table. And then if you've got like a fire move or something like that, that makes ice types very unlikely. Now, there is a way around this, and that is Stellar Terra. But first things first, we kind of want to address how we're going to deal. I'm going to deal with Moxie first and foremost, because once again, Intimidate is just using a special attacker. That's kind of the big thing. So if we're dealing with Moxie, the main thing we want to do is we want to have skill swap. We dealt with this before by using Malamar. But I'm not sure Malamar's a great fit here, and I'll kind of explain why. So on the surface, Malamar looks really good. He doesn't resist anything, but he's only really weak to Bug and Fairy, and I don't think either one of those are going to be there. Nice part is he is immune completely to Psychic, so Zen Headbutt wouldn't be an option. But we also want to look at what he's going to have his build looking like, and we need something super effective. We need an electric move, we need an ice move, or a rock move. He does have Rock Slide, so you could give him that, but it's only a 75 power and a 90% accuracy. I don't know. I'm not super sold on that. Now, we also want to make sure that we are skill swapping him. So that does come off as a potential issue. Now, the nice part about it is if you have If you have his native ability and you skill swap him, then anytime Dragon Dance goes off, that's lowering Salamence, which would be really nice. But I don't see anything here that's super effective. I really don't. But I think I've got a solution here. Now, obviously, I've got the list here of all the Pokemon that have skill swap, and that is going to be handy. There's a lot of Pokemon that can utilize skill swap, but we've got two in particular that we've actually used most recently in similar situations. Now, first things first, I'm kind of looking at Meowscarada here. Meowscarada has the ability to use skill swap, resists a ton of different things here, but is weak to flying. And that could potentially be a problem, but is immune to Psychic, which is really nice. So a lot like Malamar, kind of negates that ability to use Zen Headbutt. Really high attack stat, but defenses leave a little bit to be desired. Though very fast, he's going to have a tough time outspeeding this Pokemon. So Meowscarada is actually potentially on the table. You've got Skill Swap, you've got immunity to potential Zen Headbutt attack, you've got a good attack with a high speed. This could potentially be a winner here. But we've got one other that we used before. It's one of my personal favorites. I mean, let's be fair here. Who doesn't love Tinkaton? I adore Tinkaton. So when it comes to the actual Tinkaton build, if we kind of go down here a little bit, once again, not a lot of HP, not great defense, really high special defense, but physical defense does leave a little bit to be desired. Speed leaves a little bit to be desired. But resists a ton of things. In fact, she is weak to ground, but remember, ground's not going to have stabs, so she probably could be coerced into kind of dealing with that, especially if you run this with somebody with Intimidate to kind of like mitigate that effect. We are all going to obviously be level 100. You got to be level 100 for this. But if we kind of go down here a little bit, I'm looking for I'm looking for a super effective move. So I'm looking for Electric, Rock, and Ice. And actually going through this, she's got an egg move down here, Ice Hammer. Now her physical attack isn't the highest, so you will need to buff her up, but Ice Hammer is a move she can learn through the Mirror Herb right there. And with that attack, it is only 90% accurate, but there are kind of ways around that. But it is a power 100. Give her a Stellar Terra and watch her work. I actually think this is a really good option. Also, keeping in mind, she does have access to Swords Dance. So Swords Dance along with that. 3 of those Swords Dances means that move is going to be hitting like a truck, especially with a Stellar Terra to boost that up. You can also throw in Terra Blast, and that's always going to be super effective. But the problem with Terra Blast and the Stellar Terra is it will lower your attack stats. So you're kind of dealing with that as such. You do also have access to Metal Sound, so there are other potential options there. But I really feel like Swords Dance and the Stellar Terra with that Ice move are going to be phenomenal options. But that's not the only thing out there. There are other options on the table. Just, it's a personal favorite Pokemon. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is the move. This is the build that I think I'm going to prepare several different builds to kind of deal with the 2 potential abilities. One physical attacker, one special attacker. Somebody's got skill swap that can deal with Moxie, and someone that's got the special attack that can deal with the Intimidate. We'll prepare a few things going into this, and then on Thursday when it drops, hopefully we'll be able to get a quickie win out there and get you guys the video on how to solo that. But for now, like, share, comment, and I'll be back with more as soon as we figure out what's going on with this raid for sure.